All right. This is Brian Gibbons. I'm with one of my newer students. He's like 12 years baptized into this thing. Carl, welcome. You're in Florida. You're in the Orlando area. You don't have a huge amount of experience, and you want to get started fast. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. I'm really happy to be here. Can't tell you how excited I am to be here.
Yeah. Well, I want you excited, but I want you to get a check in 30 days. That's the big thing, you know. A lot of people come to me and they've spent a ton of money with other people, like Rich Dad and Fortune Builders and whatever. And they learn a lot of stuff, but they don't make any money, and it's really frustrating. We're going to talk a little bit about your marketplace. And, you know, you're going to get a copy of this recording so that you can listen to it a couple of times. So you don't have to really take a lot of notes. But the first thing I want you to think about is, how can we find sellers that have a problem? And what are the three kinds of problems? If we can just go through that piece of it. Sellers right now today have a much harder time than even 2 years ago of getting a cash buyer through their house. We've seen all these hedge funds buying houses and renting them out, but the middle class is having a hard time getting qualified for a mortgage. This recession has made people's credit not good. It's been a crappy time for the buyer. So this hurts the seller and the real estate agent. Because you know, before they could take 100 applications and get 70 people approved 2 or 3 years ago. Now they take 100 applications, they're lucky to get 15 or 20 approved. And these are people making good money. These are people putting a good amount of money down. But the Dodd-Frank and the SAFE Act has created some problems for people buying houses. Even Bernanke has said, you know, who was in charge of 2008's crash, until we loosen up credit a little bit, we're not going to see a recovery. It's not going to happen. So what can we do to take advantage of that? Well, what we're going to do is help the seller sell on terms. And most of those sellers sell on terms only for one reason. They have very little equity. That's most of them. Some of them, like landlords, business people that understand owner financing, they're looking at owner financing right now. They don't want to sell for cash. They want to sell on terms. So those are the two groups. There's homeowners that can't sell, and then there's landlords that look at owner financing as a good idea. All right. So the three kinds of houses we look for are traditional wholesaling, which is dirty, smelly, yucky houses. I mean crack houses. I mean code violations. I mean houses that are missing roofs, you know, really crazy looking houses. And we want to buy them for, you know, 50% of value of after repaired value, not 65, but 50%. Why? Because we need to flip it to a rehabber that's going to buy it at 65% of after repaired value. And to give a really low offer, like let's say you had a $100,000 house and it needed $30,000 in work, and you know, what are we going to offer? We're going to offer like $30,000 for that house. Not a lot of money. And you got to say, look, there's too much work in this house. There's too much risk. We could have a bad foundation. We could have lots of problems with this thing. Take it or leave it. That's the wholesaling business. So, and you know what? Every wholesaler and their brother are looking for those houses. There's a lot of competition for it. And if you're part-time, it's really hard to beat those guys. They got a marketing machine out the yin-yang. And they're only looking for the diamond in the rough that they can make a quick 30 on. That's it. You know? So I don't recommend you kind of specialize in wholesaling, especially if you're part-time. Now, that doesn't mean we won't do a wholesaling deal, but it's got to be a screaming deal for us to look at it. Does that help on that, the dirty, smelly, big equity deal?
Yeah, no. Puts it in perfect perspective.
Okay, good. Now, the second kind of house is a pretty house with a lot of equity. Now, a lot of those people will take an agent and they'll sell it traditionally. And the agent will say, look, we'll get you top price, but we need to enter the market at, so let's say we have a $100,000 house, $50,000 first, $50,000 equity. We'll say we're going to list this house at 95% of value, at $95,000, get a lot of buyers through here and try to get 105. That's the marketing strategy. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But The cost to sell are about 10 to 15% of the value. And the seller has to sign on to that. So the best he's going to do is if he gets his price at a $100,000 house is 10 to 15% off that. So he's looking at 90 to 85,000 in his pocket. And that's a good deal for some sellers. But there are some sellers out there that don't want to pay the cost to sell. And what we'll do is we'll buy it on terms. How will we do that? Well, we'll create a note for their equity, right? Does that make sense when I say buy a note?
It does. It does.
All right. And then we might buy it subject to. Buy it subject to and create a note for $50,000. And how we structure the note will be in our best interest. It might be interest only on the note. So we get that payment down. And if market rents pardon?
I do have questions on the note piece, but
don't worry about it, because you're not going to draft it. You're just going to talk in very general terms to the seller about, how we can help them. I mean, for me to teach you a notes class, it'll take you a week. That's like me teaching you organic chemistry. I don't want to do that. I want to go make you some money. But just understand that we're buying the first mortgage, we're taking it subject to existing financing and taking over the payment, and then we're going to create a note for the balance. That's it.
Gotcha.
And keep it that simple. And I don't draft notes. I have the lawyers do that. I don't want a problem. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a deal maker. I got a team behind me. That's it.
So, hey,
$100,000 house, $50,000 first. We buy it subject to the existing first, and then create a note for the balance. And it's usually interest only. Why can we do it that way? Well, we need a cash flow if we're going to buy this thing and resell it. Because we might sell it on a wrap.
Okay.
And we might buy it on a wrap too. We might buy it on a wrap, or we might buy it on subject to in a note if there's a lot of equity. Okay? And what does that do for the seller? It gets him more money for the house. He doesn't have to pay the cost to sell, and he's getting some kind of minor interest on the note. It's a good deal for him. Now,
I could see objections, but
pardon?
We'll get there. I could see an objection from the
well,
seller.
just write down the objection. But let me go through this. Okay. We're looking at these boxes that we look at. We're looking at traditional wholesale, smelly houses, a lot of equity. We're looking at a lot of equity. Could be freeing. Now, if it's free and clear, a lot of equity, it's another story, because there's no due on sale clause. You can structure any note you want on seller financing. And what I generally try to do is, let's say we have a $100,000 house, retired couple, and their concerns are they're running out of money. They're 65, they think they're going to live to 85, and they need a lot of money. Well, how about turning that house into an investment property? How about creating a private first mortgage on that house and doing an installment sale? The IRS lets you do that. The IRS lets you sell on payments versus for chunk cash. And you get some tax breaks and all sorts of things. You're turning that property into an investment property and selling it on terms. Now, the way I do it, on a $100,000 house, let's say market rent's $1,000, we're going to take a payment that we can make at least 30% a cash flow out of it. So how do we do that? Well, 1,000, 30% off of that is 700. So we'll take the 700, and we might even offer them 105,000 for the house. Not 100, but 105. How can we afford to do that? Well, we're not paying them any interest. That's how we can afford to do that. Because if we pay them even 3% interest on the installment sale, well, we're going to be paying about 1.7 times the price. So we'll be paying like $170,000 for the house. Well, if we can pay them no interest, we're paying them $105,000 for the house and no interest. Make sense?
It does. I'm sitting here thinking about the shock on the owner's face when you tell them, hey, you know what? I'll pay you 107. You were asking 100, but I'll pay you 107. And they'll be like,
Yeah, but it's got to be our terms. It's got to be our terms. It's got to be a payment that we can live with because we're going to be renting it out, and it's got to be win-win. Mm-hmm. And we're turning this. Pardon?
Yeah, no, I totally see it being a win-win, and of course you got to have some sort of rapport, some sort of.
Yeah, you know all that. Yeah, you've sold before. And some of them will do it right away, and some of them will do it in 3 months from now. But they'll eventually do it because they've tried other things, and this is the best thing for them. So anyway, that's a free and clear house, pretty house. And the last one is a pretty house with no equity. And there's 20 million of these houses. There's more of these houses than wholesaling houses or houses with a lot of equity. And this is why. What I think is the best possible business plan for any real estate investor to get started with. First of all, they get the best school district, and then they get the median house. You don't want the best house. You don't want the worst house. You want the middle of the road house. You want existing financing that's not an arm, right? Can't be an arm. We don't want an arm. Okay? Why don't we want an arm when we do a lease option assignment? You know?
I would guess because we don't want to deal with any kind of, balloon or, we don't want to deal with the fluctuation in the interest rate.
Right.
So we don't want to, because we want a nice steady cash flow. Leaseholder, a tenant in there.
Yeah.
And, we have that spread and we want to keep that cash flow spread.
Yeah, we don't want any uncertainty, and we don't want the tenant buyer to be worried about anything. We want them to just make their payment and try to get the mortgage. That's it. Yeah. No fluctuating payment, If we have to evict them and get somebody else in and it's just reset, we don't need that kind of crap. So if we do have an arm, we might walk from that deal. Now, I have very rarely told the sellers is, look, we'll take a look at your arm, but you're going to have to pay the difference if it resets. I'm going to have to do an automatic withdrawal of the difference between what the payment is today and what any increased payment is. And, we're going to need basically an agreement that they're going to do that. But I don't like doing that. Because then I got to go chase the money from the seller if he doesn't pay me. I'd rather just have a fixed rate note. It's the easiest solution. And there's a lot of houses out there. Okay. So we got a thin deal. We can do a subject to or a lease option assignment or a wrap. Those are the three basic tools on a thin deal. And there's 20 million of those houses out there. Now, all the crap I just said, maybe 3% of the population can understand it really well. It's true. So if you try to say the same thing I just said to sellers, they'll glaze over and they'll go, what? I just want to sell my house. The biggest mistake you can make is try to teach the seller what you know, especially if you just learned it. Now, you're old enough to know this particular television show. It was on NBC. It was like on Friday nights. It was very popular. It was called Columbo. Yes. You ever watch Columbo?
Sure.
Peter Falk played this rumpled lieutenant in investigating murders, and then he'd investigate all these slick, suspects, and he'd trick them. He'd trick them into confessing. But he didn't.
You said.
Yeah. My favorite Columbo thing is, by the way. You head the door and you turn around and you go, by the way. The by the way is a very strong thing. It's a very, very strong thing. It takes some practice to be like Columbo, And you scratch your head and you go, well, I really don't know. Or like, that's a great idea. It's kind of effusive and kind of just the way he is. And that's what I want my students to be. I want them to be kind of like Columbo. Scratch your head and look a little puzzled and stuff like that. That works. That works really well. All right. So that's like the gamut on the selling side. We only got 3 boxes to look at. And what I think it really helps people when they start this business to know, what are we dealing with? What are our choices? And what are the word patterns for that kind of seller? Have I kept it simple?
Yes. Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, the nice thing about working with me is you don't have to learn contracts, but you do need to understand them. And there's a difference between learning them and understanding them. Understanding subject to is just you're taking over the payments. Understanding a lease option assignment is you're entering into a lease and an option and then selling your interest in that agreement. Okay? Those are simple. Subject to in a note, you're buying the property subject to that existing financing, promising to make those payments, and paying on that note. You might even have a moratorium or no payments. Moratorium means no payments for 6 months. You can draft the note any way you want. Okay, that's the buying side. The selling side is we're either going to hold it for rental, or we're going to sell it on rent to own, or we're going to package it with a tenant and sell the whole thing to an investor. That's generally our exits. Pretty simple, right? That's not that complicated. Now, funding takes some marketing and it takes some talent to do funding, creative funding. There's really three kinds of funding that we kind of get involved with. One is private lending. Do you know anything about private lending?
A little bit, only from reading, not from any.
Just tell me what you know. It's not a quiz.
So perhaps I have a friend who has a pool of cash for whatever reason, and he wants to invest in something, and I could be that something, and we could work out some sort of deal based on my real estate investment piece. In other words, use him as my capital.
Okay, what's an elevator speech for a private lender? I mean, you bump into somebody in an elevator, you want to be able to see if they would be interested in investing with your company as a private lender. What would you say? Do you know what an elevator speech is?
I do. I totally do. Something
good.
A minute. Yeah, minute.
Less than that, whatever. 30 seconds.
Less than 30 seconds. Wow, I don't want to come off smarmy.
All right, let me try to do it. I go, "Hey, how you doing?" And you go, you know, like most guys do, you know. They wouldn't say, "Yeah, great, having a great day." No, you wouldn't say that.
I would.
You would?
I would. I would
say
cool. Well. I'd say
cool.
Well.
All right. So if you would say that, it says, "You know what? It says, I love meeting new people because I got this awesome job. You want to hear about my job? Or maybe not." And get the invitation to talk about yourself. You know what I mean? So you're not too ostentatious and aggressive. I go, "Yeah, tell me about your job." You know? And you go, "This is what I do. I take people that have money in really crappy rates of return, like CDs, or they got money that they're losing in mutual funds or stocks and stuff. I take it out of Wall Street and put it on Main Street, like a rehab project. And I make them like 7-8% fast in 3 or 4 months. Isn't that cool?
Interested?
And then you go, you got any lazy money around? I don't care if it's in an IRA or a savings account. You got any lazy money? Would you like to get that kind of rate of return, but have some kind of real estate security so, you know, you're assured that rate of return? Would you like that?
Awesome.
They either want it or they don't. Well, here's my card. If you change your mind, let me know. Because I really like helping people get a good rate of return, but not in Wall Street, on Main Street.
You're good. You've been doing this a while, haven't you?
25 years. But I had a mentor, though.
Oh, well, what did I...
No, I got a guy I worked 2.5 years for $500 a week. And I cashed $50,000, $100,000 checks at the bank. You know.
Yeah. That's tough.
No, I'm serious. It's depressing to do that.
No, I can imagine.
You know? I mean, his name was Glenn. He was 60 years old. I met him at a bar because I just quit my job because I hated the guy I was working for. I was working as an engineering sales guy, and it was commission based, and I got this commission, the salary against commission kind of deal, you know. And on the books, I had like 30 grand. And we were working for Johnson Controls, which is like a commercial air and water flow thing. Anyway, long story short, I quit my job because this guy wouldn't pay me the commissions he owed me. And I was at a bar, and I saw this guy at the bar. He had this big smile on his face, and, you know, he looked successful. And he looked at me and went, you get the saddest face I have seen in a couple weeks. Somebody just shoot your dog? You know. And I told him, no, I just quit my job. I couldn't stand the son of a bitch. He says, oh, okay. What'd you do? And, you know, I gave him the story. He says, well, it sounds like you're smart. Well, you like real estate? Well, I know the basics. I said, well, you've never been an agent or never bought a house or whatever. You only rented? He says, yeah. I said, well, you willing to work 12 hours a day for $500 a week? 7 days a week? And I went, I'm making $400 a week. And I go, yeah, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a life. Sure, $500 a week. And he goes, okay. But guess what? I don't do a W-2. I just give you $500 bills, 5 of them, every week. You go do your own taxes, okay? And I'm saying, like, that's like $700 a week. You know, I don't have to pay any tax on it. I don't know. What does he do? Rob banks, you know? So he sat me down and he taught me acquisition manager crap, you know? He spent about $1,000 a week on marketing, and he did like 5 houses a week. And my job was to open the cellar up, and he'd go close it. I would be his assistant. I made $500 a week. 2.5 years later, listen to this. 2.5 years later, I get a hair up my ass. I'm like 30 years old. I don't know, 27. I started with him 26 out of the Marine Corps, and 29. I go to him and I said, look, I got a little bit of money saved up, not much, a couple of $1,000. I'm going to go start my own office. I'm going to quit. He said, you going to quit me? I went, yeah, I'm going to quit you. You've taught me everything I need to know. And the education has been amazing. You taught me about divorce and probate, bankruptcy, title lien problems, all sorts of crap. I've got my lawyer. I got my agent. I get it. I don't really. I want to go make the kind of money you're making. And then he looks at me and says, "You really going to leave me?" And I go, "Yeah." He went. He leaned back, put his hand back like this. He went, "I'm really surprised, actually, to tell you the truth, that you've lasted this fucking long." And I went, huh? What do you mean? And I went, yeah, I expected a smart guy like you to last like 6 months to a year and then go open up his own shop. That's what I expected. But you just were this loyal golden retriever kind of puppy boy, and I'm, you know, you made me a couple of million. So, you know, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little bit of severance and wish you the best of luck, okay? He pulls out his checkbook, cuts a check, and he folds it in twice, so it's a little piece of paper, and he sticks it in my pocket, and he says, now don't look at this till you're in your car, because I don't want you to yell at me if you think it's not enough, all right? Now, and I want you to make me one promise, that if you got a deal you can't do anything with, you need some help, you call me and we'll split it, okay? Okay. So I thought that went well, you know. I thought I negotiated that well. I got some money that I wasn't expecting, blah, blah, blah. I sit down in my car, I turn the key, and I went, oh, I got to see what the check is. I thought it was $1,000 whatever. Open it up, it's 15 grand.
Nice.
You know?
Nice.
And that's my attitude towards my students. I want to get them to that point where they quit. They don't need me anymore. But the only way I can do that is to get enough deals done where you get it. You learn by doing. You don't learn by reading all this crap. The critical skill is talking to the seller and getting him to look at a creative deal. If you can't do that, you're dead. I don't care what you know. So that negotiation I focus on a lot. And then you get the numbers up. And you get as many letters of intent written as you can. Because it's not really binding. It's not a contract. It's just a meeting of the minds, and we talked about an idea. And if they want to do it, 3 months from now, they do it 3 months from now. But we hound them every 2 weeks. We follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. The deals are made on the follow-up, where they're so tired of hearing from you, they're either going to tell you to take a hike or we'll do it now. That's the buying side. That's what you do. It's not hard, but it takes real focus.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. You're awesome. You're awesome. I love it. Love it.
You feel you're getting some value for a small amount of money you spent today?
Yes, sir. Seriously, Brian, you see, the funny thing is you sit there and you watch all these newbies come into you and I don't know how you keep a straight face half the time, right? I mean, I know how I feel when I get these kids coming to me working at the help desk, and they're scared shitless, take their first call, don't know what they're going to say to the customer, that whole nonsense, right? And I'm kind of that guy right now, because I've got all these shiny objects. I've been doing all this reading. Mm-hmm. I sort of have an idea, but I'm paralysis through analysis, or I'm just afraid to say the wrong thing to the buyer, which really is a stupid thing, or the seller, or whoever I'm talking to.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, I just need to do it. So, anyhow.
Yeah, well, what I want you to do is I want you to go out and make a lot of mistakes and make a fool out of yourself. That's what I want you to do. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because you'll learn from that faster than you will by thinking too much.
So what I haven't done, though, let me tell you something real quick. I know part of this is going to be marketing, and I've just kind of sat back until I found you to get some.
Don't do any marketing. Don't do any marketing. Seriously. You're going to go to another place for marketing, and it's another Bigger Pockets colleague. You're going to go to Michael Corliss at Yellow Letters. That's who's going to do your marketing. You're not going to think. You're not going to think about doing a marketing plan. You're not going to understand it. You're just going to get leads coming in. That's all there is to it. Okay. And you're going to get a discount because you're coming through me. That's what's going to happen. See, it's kind of like we're in this big office, and I'm the general agent or the broker. You're the agent. You're the listing agent. And we have a marketing program that you don't even think about. Your job is to present and get letters of intent. That walking through a house, shaking hands with a seller, building rapport, getting the upfront agreement, discussing the motivation and the money step, that's what you got to do. And then you do that for 6 months and then start to think about how can you train somebody else to do that piece. You got to replace yourself on that piece. That's how you grow your business. And you dump a little bit more money in marketing, and you get, you pay them a percentage. That's how I want to scale your business. Okay? Mm-hmm. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I always try to inspect what I expect, as a trainer. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know where your head's at.
No, well, you just saved my brain from useless trivia on the marketing piece, because I was kind of wound up or wrapped around, oh God, I got to get some yellow letters, I got to figure out this, I got to do that on the marketing side. So you just took it away. Yeah.
No.
See, so.
No, you're part of a team now.
Thank you.
You're part of a team now. You're the quarterback. You're not the coach. You're not the offensive coordinator. Your job is to take that ball and get some yardage. And the only way you can do that is to take a lead and to go make an appointment and go do a walkthrough and give them a letter of intent and not care whether or not they do it today or in 3 months. But that's all you can do. And then the other thing you can do is follow up and say, look, we got a buyer for your street. I'd hate for him to miss your house. Should I be bringing my buyer through your house? It's a fear of loss. It's all that's all it is. And they gotta either like and trust you or they don't. You know, that's your job. I can't do anything about that part of it. You know, and you know how to do that. I'm not worried about that. I got a couple of students that I'm worried about doing that, but I'm not worried about you. You know, being able to get somebody to like and trust you is you either got that skill or you don't.
I had a very good friend a long time ago who used to get very angry with me because he would say, "People like you for no reason," and I'd be like, "Huh? What? What are you talking about?" But you know, I don't know. There is something to that which you're saying. I don't know if that's exactly true for me, but to your point, you know, you have to be able to talk to people and not. When I was doing my painting business, I went into this it was called the Fly-In. It was called the Spruce Creek Fly-In. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not. John Travolta used to keep his plane there. He used to fly his plane in.
Pilot thing, yeah.
So they're all pilots. Eastern Airlines, you know, all the defunct American. I went to this ginormous house, told him about the business, told him what I was going to do to paint his house, how it was going to go, and left. He calls me back. He says, "I'm going to go with you." I go to get the contract signed. He says, "You know why I went with you?" I said, "I have no idea, to be perfectly honest.
What was that again? Sorry?
Said,
why did he go with you?
Do you know why? Yeah, why I went with you? And I said, "No." He goes, "You looked me in my eyes when you talked to me."
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
So.
It's true. You know, there's something that you know, you can feel the integrity of a person is their aura. There's something about the aura of a person. And he said, "This guy's for real." You know? That's why on the phone, I can't really connect with people. I can connect with people like this, you know. I can't really do it on the phone. I mean, you doubt on the phone, you know. It's like, what's this guy? Just slick? What is he? What's his real, you know, motive?
Yeah.
What's going on? You know. All I can tell you, if you read those testimonials, some of them are really deep as far as I get into, you know, what's really important to them as people, not just training them with a skill, you know, because I need to understand your why. I need to understand what's important to you. I mean, if you want to help your daughter at 18 fish and not have to depend on other people for income, but she's going to learn how to fish. She's going to learn how to feed herself. She's going to learn how to market. She's going to learn how to sell. She's going to learn how to, you know, run a shop. You know? That's a great why. You know, that's a really strong why. And it's enough to stay up at 3 a.m. studying crap if you need to and get by on 5 hours sleep. You know, that's what it takes. Entrepreneurs are mad. Mad meaning English mad, meaning you're crazy, meaning you're off base, you know. Isn't it easier just to get 10 hours of sleep and go to the water cooler, get a check, and go home? Isn't it easier? It's like Office Space, you know?
Anyhow, yes.
It's easier. It's not rewarding.
I want out.
It's not rewarding, you know? It's not rewarding. And you got to hate that stuff. You got to hate. I would just, you know, if you want to keep your motivation, and like, let's say, Brian, this is too hard. You know, I'm not getting enough runs on the board fast enough. Go, just keep watching Office Space every night. That'll keep you. That'll keep you motivated. You know. All right. So that's the buying side. The funding side and the private lending, it's kind of like you got to understand self-directed IRAs and custodians first, and then once you understand that, then you can work with a custodian and teach. And they will teach you how to sell the private lender. They will teach you how to do that because they want the business, and they deal with real estate investors all the time. Okay, and what I generally do is give them a story like this, and I won't go into a lot of depth, but I'll say, look, you got 3 choices to make money. You can do something really safe with a shitty rate of return, like 0.5% at a CD, and then you can go to Merrill Lynch, and they'll make money when you buy and when you sell on mutual funds or stocks or bonds or whatever. They'll make 4%. They don't care if you hit your mark. They don't have a conditional commission. where if you don't make money, they don't get a commission. They don't have any of that. They make money whether you buy or sell. And they love nervous investors because you keep churning. You keep buying and selling all day long. And they keep making money, whether you make money or not. I mean, I always tell them, look, if you really love your Merrill Lynch advisor, why don't you go to the general agent, their boss, and say, look, I need an agreement in writing that says if I don't make at least 8% of my money, at least, you're going to waive all your commissions. You know what he's going to say? He's going to get the hell out of my office. You know? That's the way the business model is. They make money whether you buy or sell. It doesn't matter. So whether or not and what they'll do to defend their rationale is what? What will they do? They will say, traditionally in a stock market, you will make more money than in any other investment class. That's great. But in 2000, from 2000 to 2002, people with Enron and WorldCom and everything else, they lost like a third to a half. My father did. He went from 2 million to 1 million. He didn't talk to me about it, but, you know. That's why private lending is a lot more secure. It's a lot risk-free. What you do is you give me $100,000. I give you 6% rate of return on an 80% loan-to-value house. And if I don't pay you, you repossess the house and sell it for 90 cents on the dollar and make 10%. And get all your money back. You lose nothing. And you got real estate security. So if you like Merrill Lynch better than that, then go to Merrill Lynch. And you're almost like you want them to beg you to do it. You know? Oh, no. What do I need to do to get started? How do I liquidate my mutual funds and work with you? How do I do that? That's where you got to get them to get to on the private lending. The joint ventures are different. This is where you deal with a doctor that's got some lazy money and it's liquid. Or he's got a great credit rating and he can be a money and credit partner. So let's say that you go find a $300,000 house, free and clear, and it needs $40,000 in work. Can you get that in your head? $300,000 after repaired value, $40,000. So what do we got to do? We got to be able to buy this thing cheap enough. So we put an offer in probably like $150,000 to the seller, and then we need another 40 to bring it up to 190 all in, and the doctor pays for all of it. You pay for nothing. You're doing sweat equity. You're, managing the rehab, and you're also managing the resale. So let's say you sell it for $300,000, and the cost to sell are 10%, so that's $270,000. So you're at $190,000 to $270,000. We're looking at $80,000 net. And you split that 50-50. The doctor gets all his money back. And you split the 80, and you make 40, and he makes 40. He's happy with that. Yeah, he's made $40,000 by putting 140 out for 3 or 4 months.
I was going to say, you probably did it in 3-4 months. It's an incredible return.
Yeah. If that was an annual rate of return, it would be around 30%. If you made it in 4 months, it's times 4. It's over 100%. Annual rate of return. And that, you got to be able to say that to the doctor. This is what I'm proposing. I go find the deal. You put the money up, I manage it, resell it, we split the profits 50-50 after you've gotten all your money back. And here's the other thing. I don't even have any ownership. All I have is an option to buy 50% of the net profit when it resells for $1. So if it doesn't resell, I don't make any money. You own it 100%. There's no risk to you. I'm not involved with it whatsoever except with this joint venture agreement.
Okay, that you just took it to a level beyond my comprehension at the moment. I
That's
don't
fine.
quite follow. Yeah.
Think of it this way. Doc, we're going to be partners, right? I'm going to go find the deal and manage it and resell it. You're going to buy it. We're going to split the profits 50-50 after you get all your money back. You okay with that?
You would think they'd say yes.
Some will, some won't. So what? All you need is a couple of success stories and a letter from a doctor saying he did exactly what he said he's going to do. I highly recommend working with him. He's a nice guy. See the difference between a joint venture and a private lender?
Yes.
See how you avoid banks completely?
Nice.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about buying, we talked about private lending and JVs, and we talked about funding. There's some advanced funding techniques like split funding. And split funding I won't go into right now, but it's just basically doing it in two pieces where you're going to buy it and give them a note, and then you're going to fix it and then give them some more money when it resells. That's the seller. That's called split funding. And it's a little confusing, so I'm not going to even go through a lot of detail on it. Now, your homework is going to be take a yellow pad to those two PDFs that I just went through. One of them is creative finance, the other one's contracts. You don't need to understand the contracts. You just need to understand the breadth of what I'm trying to teach you. You know, and if you're confused, you know, you're supposed to be confused. It's a lot of information. But I just want you to not be micro with it, be macro with it, okay? Take each one of those major chapters and just get like, you know what a good way to do is get those big 4x6 index cards and just have one index cards for each one of those chapters and get the basics out of that, okay?
Okay.
Because I want you to be able to say, what's a contract for deed? What's that all about? What's the plus and minuses of a contract for deed? And you can tell me. What's a wraparound mortgage? What's the plus and minuses of using a wrap? And I mean very simple answers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect you not to understand it very much right now. You're a babe in the woods, right?
Yes.
Okay. Allow yourself to be a little confused. Keep it macro,
Okay.
not micro. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then get your leads, and I want to just talk a little bit about knocking on the door of an expired, okay? It's really helpful to get the expired just when it expires, the day it expires. Do you know why? Why do you need to have it that precise?
I would guess that it's because the seller is probably perhaps the most frustrated or the most. I mean, they had to make a decision, right?
There's another reason, and I'll tell you the reason. Other agents, when it gets expired, jump on these things like pariahs.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes,
and they have automated systems that send them out letters with the day it expires. And they're like feeding frenzy. And these poor sellers, you know, they're just getting over having that agent fail them. Now they get all these other agents trying to say that they can do it better. Then they get all these phone calls. There's no way you can. It's ridiculous how easy it is to get cell phone numbers of people.
But I'm calling, right? I'm seeing it expire, and I'm calling.
You're seeing it expire. Listen, you're knocking on their door. The day it expires, or hopefully within the last couple of days, and you want to be able to see them. And this is what I say, okay? And there's a couple of ways to do it, but this is what I do. Knock on their door, or I have a beautiful girl knock on their door. I'd rather have a young girl that's non-threatening to an old lady. And she looks businesslike. She looks like she's got works at a bank or something. Knocks on the door and says, Was there a for sale sign with a realtor out front here just a little while ago? Am I losing my mind here? What do you think the seller's going to say?
They're going to to talk to her, they're going to say, yeah, we were trying to sell our house, but we couldn't get the price we needed or something to that effect.
Well, they might just admit that there was listed, but it's not listed anymore or something like that. And I said, well, oh my God, would you consider selling it privately without an agent? Now, who do you look like? You look like an interested buyer, not an agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because no agent would say that, right?
No.
You sound like an interested buyer, especially, even if she's only 18, if you say, well, are you going to buy it? You look a little young or whatever. I say, oh, no. Let me just help you understand this. I want to give you this. And she hands a 3-page report on selling on terms versus for cash. And I said, could you just take a look at this? Because my boss would love to talk to you. That's it. Doesn't have to answer any questions. Doesn't have to coach the seller about how it works or anything like that. The 3-page report does it. You like that?
I do.
Simple, right?
I do. Yes.
That's better than a phone call. And she doesn't have to sell her company or how many deals they've done or anything like that. Okay?
Okay.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay. There's 5 kinds of leads we go after, and then Michael gets involved with our direct mail too. But the first one is expireds and listed houses if you're not licensed. If you're not licensed, you can knock on the door with a sign out front, right? And then the other 2 are FSBOs and landlords. We'll go after those people. And the last one, the last of the 5, are wholesalers. And wholesalers have thin leads in good school districts, pretty houses that need no work, but they don't have enough equity to be a wholesaling deal. And we'll get those thin leads from them at no money up front, and we'll only pay them if a deal comes through. And we'll pay them a lot of money. We'll pay them $500.
Talk to me about that one a little more.
Sure. Let's say we buy houses. Orlando.com is a wholesaler in your area. Well, you need to get a hold of a decision maker there. So you might want to just act like a potential home seller and put your information in. Get their email address. Yep.
I have a connection with one of those guys.
Well, good.
He's fairly big. Yeah.
Well, you just tell him you don't have any runs on the board, so you can't really brag to him yet. You might want to wait a little while before you talk to him, because all you got is an idea, right? And what you could do is does he know you? Is it a friend?
Yes.
If he knows you, he knows that you're a neophyte in this business, right? So he may not even want to spend time with you, right? I mean, you might want to knock on. It's like somebody playing college ball talking to a major leaguer, and he's talking about, hey, can you give me a tryout? Well, you might want to try out with AAA first, that kind of thing. So if he's really big, you might want to wait till you get a couple of deals in the pipe, and you may want to have me call him.
Okay.
And we could, because of your limited experience and success, it might just pay for you to say, look, we just opened up a new office in Orlando. We've got 30 years experience in seller financing, and we'd like to be able to take care of your leads that you really can't sell because there's not enough equity. Would you consider having a 3-way conversation with my partner and myself? And then we'll do a 3-way and, say, look, we got a web page on our website that all you need to do is put in your code number, the seller's information. We'll call them back, and the lead is from you, and we'll pay you $500 if it comes through. It's worth their time. It's worth their time to give up their thin leads that they can't do anything with. Okay?
So I'll put that in the, let's not forget about that.
Don't worry about it. I won't let you forget about it.
Okay.
This is in my hard drive, in my back of my head.
Excellent.
And this is on tape, so you can listen to it again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, duh.
You see how this is a good thing to train? You know, it's a good thing to train this way. All right, I think that's enough. I don't want to overload here. We're just going to keep it this simple. I'm going to get you a copy of this within 24 hours. Have you had fun? Has it been fun?
It's been fantastic, Brian. Thank you. Yes.
Do you feel like you got a good plan?
I feel like a weight is lifted, honestly, because I felt like weighed down trying to spin this thing up on my own. It's too big a rock to get moving, forward, So no, I'm very happy. Thank you for accepting me as a student. And
I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about some other students. But what you do, the thing I need you to get in your head is, I need you to stick to what I'm asking you to focus on and not everything else. Because that will get you successful faster than if you dilute. I like the word dilute. I got a chemistry background. You can dilute your learning by getting it distracted into other stuff. You don't need to know it. The stuff I gave you is so succinct and so clear, there's no way you can screw that up.
No, I like that. I like you've already peeled a piece that I had a lot of concern around, that whole marketing yellow letter stuff.
Yeah.
You've peeled that off. You've got me concentrating on a couple of documents that I can easily spend some quality time doing, reading, note-taking. And then the next time we meet, perhaps I'm assuming you'll kind of give me a little bit of a quiz. We'll kind of go over what I learned.
Well, I'll just have you, I want you to get those 4x6 index cards and just have those around you while you're watching ESPN or something, and just, try to get that in your head. Okay. What I like about those pieces is they have pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages, One of the biggest scary things for a lot of new real estate investors is the due on sale clause. So when you do a subject to and just take over payments, but they deed you the house, but they leave the loan in their own name, it doesn't trigger the due on sale clause. Nothing triggers the due on sale clause. What it does is it gives the lender a choice to call the loan due if they want to, but there's no due on sale clause triggered. As long as that payment's made, they don't even care. Think of it this way. A mortgage house, right, that's lending has a collection department. And that collection department a lot of times is subbed out. It's a totally different company, and maybe it might be in Iowa somewhere. And this collection company might be doing 18 different banks collecting payments for them. And as long as the payment comes in on time, there's no red lights that go on. There's no bells that go off. The payment's being made. An analogy would be, I sold my house to my grandmother subject to, and Granny makes the payment for me. The bank is happy. They don't care the money's coming from Granny. They care if the payment's being made on time. That's all they care about. So the due on sale clause is not a big deal. And of the hundreds of these things I've done, and of the hundreds my students have done, none of them have been called. It's just a big scary thing that the banks use to try to get you nervous about, deeding the house over. Okay? As long as the payment's being made, you don't have nothing to worry about. Okay? That's one of the biggest things you'll read about. Okay? I don't want to go to jail. Well, there's no due on sale clause jail. It's a civil matter. It's not a crime. And it's on the HUD-1. The HUD 1 says loans taken on line 203. I forget the line number. Loans taken subject to the existing financing. It's a legal thing to do.
I have my HUD documents for my closing. I told you.
Take a look at them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it.
So, I'm not teaching you anything that's dangerous. There's nothing dangerous about this.
That's why, I've read about you, your program, the things you're describing. That's why I'm here with you, because I think you are cautious. You are, taking due diligence, and I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I love your state, man, because there's so much opportunity in your state. It's ridiculous. Much more than California. The problem with California is it's too expensive here. Taxes are too expensive. People are leaving the state in droves. I love the weather.
Yeah.
I really do. It's really nice. I like the girls here. They're really cute. Ugly girls can't survive in California. Ugly girls can survive in Florida. I don't know how they do that. But anyway. At the end of the day, I just want to help you build a shop, a business that can bring in $300 to $500,000. You can help other people make 50, 60 grand a year, and you're kicking back making 200. That's where I want to get you to. Okay. It'll take a little while. And a lot of people. Let me tell you something. A lot of people think I charge way too less for what I do. He says, Brian, you're undercharging people. I said, well, in the first year, I'll get them so addicted to me, they'll be so dependent on what I do for them that I can go charge them 20 grand. They'll pay for that. Okay. And I'll make up for lost time. I know. I'm not putting anything in stone. But the bottom line is about results, right? It's all about results. And if you don't get the results, it doesn't matter. If you go to a franchise for Subway and you get to use their brand, just so people see Subway and they go in, they know what they're going to get. Well, that costs you 200 grand. And you still got to pay the lease, and you got to pay the employees, you got to pay everything else. And they might finance it for you, but you're paying a lot of money for that name.
And the royalty.
That
little
Yeah. It's a smart thing, But I don't do that. I get you into easy entry, and then get you into making some money and helping some people and not stepping on them making money, not like the car people. I don't want to turn you into a car salesman. I want you to help people sell on terms versus for cash. That's the whole thing. And we might get you licensed. I don't know. It's not necessarily an important thing or an unimportant thing, but we might get you licensed. If you start doing a lot of deals, you might want to get licensed because agents aren't going to like you, doing so much business. Okay? Now, there's a rule in Florida I want to leave you with, and it's a very important rule. It's got to do with real estate agent law. And it says that you should have a broker bless your deals. And the way we get around that is we have a broker in our LLC or our corporation. So we know the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate brokerage law in Florida. We know that. And we'll help you with that. But let's get a deal first before we worry about that. You're not endangering real estate agents' livelihood with one deal, Anything you want?
To be clear, To be clear, you know I'm a licensed agent, right?
Well, if you're a licensed agent, that's great. I'm glad you are.
Sorry.
Who's your broker? Who's your broker?
Charles Rutenberg.
Okay, you like him?
Yeah, I'm not.
All right.
I went with him because they allowed me to do. They charged me $275 when I'm principal. I can be my own principal. They have a flat fee. They have a flat broker fee. Good.
Well, you might just talk to them and say, look, I'm going to do some lease option assignment deals, and I just want you to sign off on a piece of paper that says that you've looked at the deal. That's all. And then you can check that with your attorney. once we get you going. I don't want to even talk about the attorney we use until we get you trained up first.
Okay.
Okay. The last thing my attorney says, whenever you get a new student, make sure they know what they're talking about before they talk to me. I don't have time to teach them anything. That's your job. You know? He gets annoyed.
And Brian, yeah, that's fair. I get that.
Yeah.
Brian, on the realtor piece, which you were talking about earlier, do you have a broker that I could hang my license
Not right
with?
now.
That would be
Not right now, no. But your broker shouldn't. All they're doing is they're looking at the deal. You know, they're looking at the lease and the option and the RMLO. That's all. They're looking at the deal, and that's what the law requires, that a broker that's properly licensed looks at the deal. And I would pay him $200 or $300 to look at the deal and sign off on it.
okay, we're good.
Okay.
That's what my deal is anyhow. So that's perfect.
There you go. He can make $200 or $300 in 5 minutes. A lease and an option is not hard. Sign a lease and an option. That's it.
All right, man.
All right, brother.
Hey, when are we gonna talk again?
Wednesday-ish. How's your Wednesday?
It's fine.
Does that work?
What time? What do you like to do when you go East Coast, West Coast, like you're doing with me?
No, I'll just.
I mean, are you an 8 to?
Let's.
Are you an 8 to 5 guy?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the day. It depends on the week. So let's look at, when can you be in a quiet position like this, a learning environment like this, on Wednesday? Why don't we do it to Thursday? It's a better day, actually. Let's do Thursday. What's the best time for you on Thursday to do quiet like this?
Well, I mean, you were saying, say 8 o'clock.
You want to shoot for this time? You want to shoot for this time? 3:30, 6:30, or do you want to do later?
Well, if
you got young kids to put down, right?
Right. Correct.
So
8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So what is that? 5:30.
5:30
Pacific time.
That'll work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And if there's a problem, I always let you know as pretty soon, with a lot of advanced notice. And I'm always on time. But the best thing to do is just say, when you're ready and you're in front of the camera like this and you're ready to go, just text me. I'm ready. And then I'm generally there within 3 to 4 minutes.
You got it.
All right. Now, would you mind doing me a favor? Would you mind going to Bigger Pockets? Don't disclose what you have paid or anything like that, but just say, look, I spent my first hour and a half or so with, or whatever, my first training session with Brian Gibbons, and I'm this is what I got out of it. Would you mind doing something like that?
Not at all.
And the reason why is other people need to know this quality here, and it's not too painful.
Well, that's different. If I have to say it's not painful, then
well, you know what I mean. It's okay. It's an enjoyable type of learning. It's not.
Where do I post that? Where I go to Bigger Pockets?
I'll just find a place. Go into the post and pick something that makes some sense.
Okay.
That would be great, and thank you for that. And I'm happy to talk to your wife and reassure her that you're going to be in good hands, if you want me to do that. Happy to do that. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to you.
All right. Bye.